This is Gilbert Gottfried, and this is Gilbert Gottfried's amazing Colossal podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Frank Santopadre, and once again, we're recording at Nutmeg with our engineer, Frank Verderosa. Our guest this week is one of the most prolific, visible, and respected actresses of the last 7 decades, and a member of a prominent showbiz family with dozens, and I mean dozens, of film and TV roles to her credit. You've seen her in classic television shows like Gunsmoke, The Untouchables, The Andy Griffith Show, The Danny Kaye Show, Columbo, Love American Style, The Odd Couple, The Sopranos, Desperate Housewives, Boardwalk Empire, and even the original Outer Limits and Twilight Zone. She's also appeared in well-known films such as I Love You, Alice B. Toklas, The Bad News Bears, Mame, Mickey and Nicky, The Falcon and the Snowman, St. Elmo's Fire, Blind Date, and Monkey Shines. And in hit stage plays like I Oughta Be in Pictures, Same Time Next Year, Jake's Women, and Brighton Beach Memoirs. In a long and extremely active performing career that began even before her first birthday, she's worked with Jack Benny, Dean Martin, Elvis Presley, Lucille Ball, Kirk Douglas, Milton Berle, Rock Hudson, Elizabeth Taylor, and Peter Sellers, as well as former podcast guests Lee Grant, Matthew Broderick, Bruce Stern, Jessica Walter, Ron Liebman, and Dick Van Dyke, just to name a few. We're pleased to welcome to the show an actor's actor and a woman who once auditioned for the role of Bonnie Blue Butler in 1939's Gone with the Wind. The versatile and multi-talented Joyce Van Patten.
What a introduction. Wow. I did all that, huh?
Did you think you had a career like that?
No, but I did. I kind of have a dim memory of getting on a phony horse over at 20th Century Fox when they had studios in New York and trying to get into Gone with the Wind. I have a kind of memory of that.
Well, you had to be 5.
I was something,
five
I
or
was like
6.
a child.
Yeah.
I was definitely a child. And I never thought the girl that did it was very good.
So you stayed bitter about it all
I'm
these
still
years.
bitter all these years later.
Oh, it's great.
You're one of those guests where I was thinking of throwing away the introduction
Right.
and saying, just name a TV show or movie, and chances are she
It's
was
staggering.
Well, really, when I first went to California, I had done a lot of stage work. And then I went to Los Angeles in the 60s. It was very easy to get on television. It's become very complicated now. There are so many decisions and people. But then they would because we came from Broadway, that was a new thing. They were excited that all those New York actors came at that particular time in the 60s and wanted to do television. That was big. That was exciting. And you would just get jobs. Now, it's so complicated. I don't know how anybody can stand it. You just went from show to show. If a director liked you, it was either you or somebody else. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like 12 women all piled into an audition. It was all simpler.
Maybe because television was still relatively new.
Yeah, it was relatively new, and it was exciting. It was all different.
Before I forget to ask, Frank brought it up, and this is a name that's popped up on the show.
Only on this podcast.
A bunch of times.
Yeah.
You worked on stage with Al Sheen, And for those people who don't know Al Sheen, first, shame on you.
Why are you listening to this show?
He was the uncle of the Marx Brothers.
You know, I never knew that. I never knew I know that I was in a play with him.
Popsy.
Then again, I was a kid. It was called Popsy. I know that it was a flop, and that was like the thing in our family. Popsy was a flopsy, was the thing. And I remember that. And do you remember the actress? She made herself Jan Sterling, but she was Jane Sterling then.
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
Yeah, she was like the ingenue in it. And I remember, things you remember, I remember she would bring me lollipops to the theater. But it wasn't a very long run. But I did not know that. I knew that it was Gallagher and Sheen, right? They were a famous.
Sure.
Absolutely,
Were they
Mr.
the
Gallagher.
were they-
Positively, Mr. Sheen.
Was that the Sunshine Boys? Was he was using or not?
A mixture,
a little bit.
A mixture of them and Smith and
Dale.
Dale.
Smith and Dale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good. I'm glad I know that now. And
But
I
you remember
I
it?
did meet Groucho Marx, you know.
You did?
Yes, and I don't remember why, but he was very nice. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? He was very accessible.
Mm-hmm.
So he was going with a girl named Erin Fleming.
Oh,
Oh,
she's
yes.
come up on this show many times.
Yo, yeah.
It's a sad story.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I knew Erin Fleming because she did a play at Mark Taper Forum, you know, in Los Angeles. They would do new theater. It's still going on. They have the Amundsen, they have the Mark Taper, they have the whatever. We were doing a new play, and she had a scene. She was playing, like a very attractive woman opposite, I guess, the man that was supposed to be my husband. I don't remember the plot complication. But she took off her shirt and showed her breasts. I mean, that was sort of new. It was like 1960. Well, no, it was in the 70s. She did that.
Yeah, this was Groucho in his later years.
Yeah, and he came around. He was there. He was sweet, it seemed like to me.
She came to a rather bad end. It's sad.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible end.
Yeah,
I don't know the real behind story, but she killed herself.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, she was homeless for
Yeah.
a while,
Yeah.
and then she shot herself.
You know, they were after, the family hated her. The Marx Brothers family, they hated her.
Oh, yeah.
They were after her. They didn't want her to get anything. That's the story that I
Well,
heard.
and there was a famous trial.
Was there?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't know
yeah.
that. I missed
yeah.
the trial.
Yeah. You also worked with Kirk Douglas.
Yeah, but
and you and Dick, your brother.
Yeah, we were in a show called The Wind is 90. That must have been right near the end of World War II.
It says 1945 in my
Yeah,
research.
so it would have been when the war ended, actually. And Kirk Douglas was in it, and it went right to Hollywood and became a star, actually almost immediately after the play. And the other man that was in it was Wendell Corey. Do you remember
Sure.
him?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
He went also to Hollywood. He didn't become quite the star that Kirk became, but the two of them were from that period.
What do you remember about Kirk Douglas back then?
He was nice, you know. I was 11.
Oh.
Something, you know what I mean?
You weren't judging anyone
You know.
too much at 11.
You know, and he was very nice to me, and he wrote in my autograph book, I can't wait to see you when you grow up, some cute thing like
Oh,
that.
nice.
Yeah.
You also, I love doing this research, Joyce, because I find some really good stuff. I mean, your theater credits, you work with Shirley Booth, for God's sake.
Yeah,
in
more
Desk
than
Set.
once. Yeah.
Yeah, and a young Lou Gossett.
Yeah, Louis,
Yeah. And you did Hole in the Head with our friend Lee Grant
right?
and Connie Sawyer,
Oh, my pal.
who's still alive.
106.
Can
Wow.
you believe that?
106. She's
We
at
gotta
the
get her.
home.
Yeah, well, let's not rush on that.
She's at the home, and she is as full of energy, and she has a little cottage
She in Los Angeles?
in Los Angeles,
yeah.
the home in Los Angeles. You know what I mean when I
Sure,
say
sure.
the home.
Yeah, the
Motion
retired
picture
actors
arts,
home,
yeah.
And you acted a bunch of times. Another name that pops up only on this show, and that's Herb Edelman.
Oh, a lot. I
Great
worked with
Herb
Herbie.
Edelman.
I worked
Yeah,
with
did a
Herbie
series.
a lot. We did a series together. We did Alice B. Toklas together.
You sure did.
We did a play at that same place that I was, the Mark Table. We did Volpone together.
Mm-hmm.
We worked together a lot.
And what do you remember about Herb?
I loved Herbie. He
What a
was
funny
just
man.
Great. He was very, very funny. He never seemed to take anything that seriously. We'd go through, what it's like putting a television show on, all that stuff. He went with everything. He was good, and he was just so funny, too.
And then he wound up being
Murray the Cop.
Arthur's boyfriend.
Right. The Arthur's boyfriend on the Golden Girls.
And he was great.
Right. And also Murray the Cop in the Odd Couple movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He was
no,
always
he was
hysterical.
great.
Loved him. Tell us a little bit about The Good Guy since you brought it up. with Bob Denver, you and Herb.
Well, The Good Guys was I can't remember
Leonard Stern.
Leonard Stern was the producer.
Yeah. That
And
smart guy.
we did the pilot. This is just a nice story about Bob Denver, really. And of course, it was traditional to fire somebody after the pilot, and I was going to be fired. And I was very upset about it, of course, but I knew that it was going to happen. And Bob found out about it and refused to do the show if I wasn't on.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Isn't that something? He was sweet. He's a sweet guy.
Leonard Stern told a story about his fan base, about Bob Denver's fan base coming to the tapings, and there was a smell of...
It was more than the fan base. It was also... he was married. Bob was married to a girl named Butch. She was like a hippie, and she would wear funny jeans and like long stuff in that day. And she had two beautiful Hawaiian children from a former marriage. So they would come. They would stand. It was an audience show on Friday nights. She would stand over there with the two beautiful children and looking, kind of very hippie-ish, and their monkey. They had a monkey.
They had a monkey. God bless him.
Can you imagine?
That sounds like a Bob Denver sitcom.
Can you imagine? Nobody looked at the show. They were all over there looking, what's the monkey doing now? Henry, yeah. So that's really all. And it was a time. I don't think they didn't know how to write for a woman. They always had me coming from the grocery store, and I was like, well, why don't you have me doing something interesting?
Right. Well, it was a boys' show. I mean,
it was a boys' show.
Did they have you in aprons a lot of time?
Yeah, they didn't know what to do.
You remember The Good Guys? They opened a diner together. Herb Edelman and Bob
I think
Denver.
we ran about 2 years. I don't think we ran longer.
I think so. I think you added Alan Hale Jr. in the second year.
Yes, they did.
Yeah,
and also the other one, Jim Backus.
And Backus, because the ratings were flagging.
And you were married to another name that comes up on this show, Martin Balsam.
I was married to him, and we have a daughter, Talia Balsam.
Talia Balsam,
Yes.
Who's a very busy actor.
Very good actress.
And lovely. Yeah, Marty Balsam was such a wonderful actor.
Oh, we talk about him on this show.
Such a wonderful actor. And I tell you, this thing is driving me crazy with people not knowing who anybody is anymore.
Well, Joyce and I talked on the phone yesterday, and I was explaining that obviously she's a friend of Lee's, Lee Grant, and also Ron Liebman and Jessica.
Right.
And Ron and Jessica were here, and they said to Gilbert and I, please keep doing this because it's important to keep these names alive. And so Joyce and I were talking on the phone, and she said it's so sad that people don't remember a lot of these great people, and that's kind of what we're trying to do here.
And also not interested enough to look it up. It's so easy now. Google them. You know what I mean? You can find so much out.
More than ever.
We were at a table recently. We were having dinner, Frank and I and Gino, and we mentioned to this girl there, Groucho Marx. She had no idea.
She was all of 24. We should say,
but
we should say in her defense.
Yeah, but my feeling is, now I could be wrong about
25.
this. I could be wrong about this. We all knew, you're younger than I am, but we all knew who the silent screen stars are. We all knew who the people were.
Yes.
But there's no interest. I don't know what that is.
No, it's true. It's true.
But getting back to Martin Balsam, he was one of those actors that made it look easy, like there was no effort involved.
Absolutely.
He was also such a nice guy, even though we didn't stay married. He was always so generous about other actors. When I met him, I was, 16 years younger. I was quite a lot younger than he. And I was jealous of a lot of people that were working.
Of course.
He did not have that in him at all. It was like, that guy is great. Jack Warden is great.
Nice.
I'm not upset that Jack Warden got the job that I wanted, because Jack he had that kindness in him.
Wow.
That was nice. And, Lee Grant has that, too. That's a lovely thing.
Yeah, Lee was great to us.
And
we loved
for
her.
those who might not know Martin Balsam, he was Abergast
in Psycho.
Well,
12 Angry Men, 1,000 Clowns. And All the President's Men, and On the Waterfront and Catch-22.
Well, 1,000 Clowns, he won the Oscar.
Absolutely.
I think
and
that was the
After the Fox.
And Catch-22 and Cape Fear.
Hysterical.
Yeah, very funny in comedies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and a stage actor as well. No,
Bronx boy, local boy.
Yep, local boy.
Yep.
True enough.
Yep.
And you worked another name only Frank and I would get totally excited about.
I know where you're going.
You worked with Hunt's Hall.
Yeah, I did. What's the name of that movie?
Oh, my God. I have it in my
it's
notes.
the something Manchu
It
Eagle
was the
murder
Manchu
mystery.
Eagle Caper murder mystery.
Gabe Dell. Also.
Yeah,
Did you
Gabe
ever
Dell
know
was in
Gabe?
it, and
Yeah,
Jackie Coogan,
Oh, my God. Every child
Why
actor.
why were we all in that movie?
and Sorrel Book.
Oh, yes. I love Cyril.
Oh, he was wonderful. I forgot all about Sorrel.
Wait,
Yeah, that was a
Boss
movie.
Hogg.
we brought him up on this show.
Did you?
Gilbert loves Bye Bye Braverman.
Yeah, well, that's a good movie.
Yeah.
Isn't Ronnie in that? Isn't
What?
Isn't
George
no,
Siegel.
George Siegel.
Yeah.
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 But Jessica Walter is in
Jessica.
Oh, she's in it. That's right.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
and the only Jewish Bond villain.
Joseph Wiseman.
Yes, he played Dr.
He was
No.
good. He was good.
Although I must
He's
say,
a great
a
actor.
fan wrote to us and said, Gilbert is mistaken. There is a second Jewish Bond villain.
Who?
And it's somebody that Joyce worked with. But
Of
it
course.
doesn't really count in the sense that he converted to Judaism.
Oh, okay.
Yaphet Kotto.
That's
Yaphet,
right.
Yaphet Kotto
That's-
is Jewish now?
He became
Yes,
Jewish.
he did. He converted to Judaism.
He doesn't have enough problems? My
It wasn't
God.
bad enough being black. He had to be a Jew.
As
There you
long
go.
as he's happy. Did he get married?
I don't know. We found
we
this
have
out.
to have Yaphet Kotto on the show.
I'd kill to have him here. He did a movie with Joyce
Wonderful
called Bone,
Yeah.
the Larry Cohen movie.
Yeah.
It's a very disturbing movie.
Yeah, it is. It's good,
Yeah.
though. I thought it was kind of good. Yaphet Kotto. Why was I was just going to say something about him, but now it's left my mind.
That's
So-
all right. We'll go back to Hunt's Hall and Gabe Dell.
Yes.
I think Gabe Dell played my husband.
He
in
was a
it.
private eye.
Yeah, I think he was. Yeah.
And what do you remember about Hunt's Hall?
He didn't make an impression. Joyce shaking her head and shrugging. So he didn't make an impression.
But when I did dead end at the Amundsen. You know,
Yes.
it was a play originally, and the
Yeah.
dead end kids were in it, and that's why they all went to Hollywood. Okay, so now the dead end kids, probably most of them dead,
Oh, yeah.
had children. And those children came to see the play. And they're not children, of course. They're middle-aged men,
Yeah.
middle-aged to old men. They came. I don't remember whether Hunt's Hall had a son there.
Wow.
I don't remember, but they all came to see the play.
Wow.
Do you remember Stanley Clements in the Bowery Boys? He was a lesser.
Yeah, Stanley Clements also played a jockey in some movie.
He married Gloria Graham.
Yes.
But he used to chase my mother home from school and try to kiss her when they were grade school kids. And my grandmother hit him with a broom. I just want to throw that out there.
Well, it's good. It's a good story. It's a good story.
And getting back to your daughter, Talia,
Yeah.
she, I guess at one point in her life, must have been hated by every single woman on the planet.
Yes, I guess so.
Yeah.
But not for long.
She married George Clooney.
She did. We all went down. Our friend Richard Kind. We all went down together to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Hate to bring that up now.
Yeah.
And they got married. We spent the weekend in Vegas, and sorry that they didn't stay married, but they both went their own way. I think George has been amazing how he's handled his being famous. I think he's done all the right stuff, don't you?
Yes.
He used his
Yes, he's an
celebrity in
altruistic person.
He used his celebrity in the greatest possible way.
And he's spoken about the marriage, and he really takes the blame on himself that he just wasn't ready, and he just, didn't give it a chance.
Yeah, I guess that's what. Yeah, they were, I guess, young.
Pretty young.
Pretty young.
But it was a fun marriage in that it was two showbiz families.
Yes,
two
and
famous showbiz families.
It's true. It's true.
Kind of joining forces.
But I would marry George Clooney.
Yeah. Why not?
You're
But
spoken for.
Yes.
She's got a cute husband now.
Oh, she's married to John Slattery from
Yeah,
Mad Men.
yeah.
Now.
She always had those. When I was dating and stuff, I never particularly had great-looking guys. I always wanted funny guys.
Oh, it's your mistake,
She
Joyce.
always dated these great-looking men,
Oh, yeah.
and so now she's married to one.
I'd like to also point out, before it's forgotten on the show, that Joyce is half Italian.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to get
God
that in there.
damn it.
Because you're always claiming ownership.
Yeah, you'll have to find, there has to be a Jew somewhere in your past.
Gotta be, right? Gotta be.
Also a New Yorker, like 90% of our guests.
I actually think that is the same thing almost. If you grow up in New York, you know about being Jewish. Do you know what I mean?
I feel partly Jewish.
Yeah.
I tell
I
Gilbert
think
that.
I think it's part of living here, of growing up here.
Well, Tony Orlando's father is he grew up. I guess he grew up in New York.
In Manhattan.
Yes, in the garment district.
Yeah.
And his father is buried in a Jewish cemetery.
Tony Orlando's father.
Yeah.
You like that? Now tell us what you were telling us outside, just a little backstory about the family and about your mom and how she was a stage mom. And
She was a stage
pushed
mom.
you
By
and
the
Dick
time, when Dickie was born, my mother's whole family, they went to live in Woodhaven at the time, and they signed a petition to get the Italians off the block. But they didn't get them off the block. They stayed there. So there was a lot
I
of
would have
that.
signed that.
I know. I'm sure you would have.
And then she met my father, who was not an Italian, was a beautiful blonde. And, there was the whole thing. They got married, and she had this beautiful baby boy. And Dickie was absolutely the most adorable child. And she decided that he was going to be a model, and he was modeling very, very young, and then he was doing little theater. They used to do plays that had a lot of people in them because it didn't cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Most of the plays that I did and that Dickie did had something like, it would be nothing to have 28 people in a play, or 30 people. There were always a lot of kids in them. And so he was doing that. He did radio.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I came along, I was like, that's what I was going to do. So there's pictures of me in, baby sweaters, modeling baby sweaters. And
You modeled for the Sears catalog when you were like 5 months old or 6 months old or some crazy thing?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's
And
sort
your,
of interesting.
your brother Dick also has a ridiculous resume.
Oh my
Amazing.
gosh. He acted with the Luntz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For 5 years.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. He's billions of movies
Yeah.
and TV shows.
He did.
Oh,
He did.
everything.
And he seemed to be in with that crowd of Mel Brooks.
Yeah, he's close with Mel.
And Don Rickles and all those people.
And who's the guy that did Get Smart? Don Adams.
Oh,
Adam.
yes,
So he was in that
yes.
group.
And
Yeah.
Don Adams had a brother.
Yeah. Oh, Yarmy.
Dick Yarmy.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yarmy's
Yarmy's
Army.
Yeah, they all gambled. I mean, that
Yes.
was the. I mean, I don't think Mel. Yeah, Mel does too.
Yes.
I'm wrong. And that was the bonding thing. I think they all had that.
I did a little research and found out Dick liked the horses.
Oh no, that was his. He was very much more interested in that and poker than he really was in acting.
But he beat out Brando for a part. He beat out young Brando, I found
Really?
in my research.
In what?
I'll have to double check on that.
No, I think if I may, sir.
Okay, correct me.
I think what happened is when he did I Remember Mama on television,
Right.
Brando had played that on Broadway.
Is that what it was?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
But that's the connection. I don't think he ever, but maybe he did.
I'll
But
double back
in other
on
words, he played Nels, which was the character that Brando had played on the stage.
that. He did. I did find a story he told about acting with Tallulah Bankhead. Her asking him to come into a room to read a line, and she was naked. She was stark naked.
Oh, he was a good storyteller. He was a great raconteur.
Oh,
Dickie.
I wish we had him. I wish we. could
Yeah.
have
Oh,
him on
you'd
the
have loved
show.
it. Yeah. He really.
And
was
you
great.
work with Jack Benny.
It was so thrilling to me, I can't tell you. I was pretty thrilled when I went to Hollywood because it was in the 60s and the studios were still there. There was still MGM. And when I went to work there was Andy Hardy's old house. They had the
Wow.
back lots.
Wow,
then.
still on the lot.
And they had all of the clothes. I wore a lot of Eleanor Parker. Do you remember her? I used to wear a
Oh,
lot of
yeah,
her
sure, of
clothes
course.
if I was working at MGM. And they had the studio was filled with those women that would make these things. I mean, it was so great to just see that part of it, to me, because the movies were like, amazing. And then to work with people like Gladys Cooper. Do you remember her at all in
Yes.
movies? Well, you guys remember. She was in everything at MGM. She was the character. To work with those people, it was like a dream come true, really.
And what was Benny like?
So nice. Oh, God, he was so nice.
Did you tell me on the phone he had a little thing for
I
you?
felt he had a little crush on me. I don't want you to feel that he did anything he shouldn't have
Oh,
done.
that's great.
But he was just so sweet to me, and he kind of get to sit with me at lunch and everything. He was just darling. And here's a nice story about Milton Berle.
Oh,
I know. That's why I say you don't get a lot of those.
I was leading into Milton Berle.
Well, we were going to do. It was supposed to be done live.
Yes.
And Milton said, "I don't trust myself, and I don't want to do anything to hurt Jack." He didn't trust himself not to be piggy.
Not to be what?
Piggy.
Oh.
To do stuff that would make Jack not happy.
Well, this was an episode of the Benny Show where Uncle Milty was being adopted
by us.
Jack, by you and Jack Benny.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to wrap my
but
mind
I thought
around.
that was sweet. I mean, that's a nice story. He was afraid he would he respected Jack Benny, I guess is the story.
Wow.
That's great.
And he didn't want to do anything that would seem disrespectful to him.
And it's funny. Benny is one of those people I've yet to hear a bad thing about.
No, there's nothing bad.
No.
There's nothing bad. The writers all liked him. That's classic. The writers hate the...
Sure.
Right? The writers hate the
Well, I don't think
comic.
they like
hate
Danny
him.
Kaye very
now,
much.
We can't touch upon Milton Berle without touching upon what he's best known for.
Which?
He's supposed to be extremely well endowed.
He would make Donald Trump jealous. Yes.
Did you
Big
ever
hands, you mean.
accidentally walk in
I
the
can't give
dressing
you, I
room?
have no information on that at all. But he was certainly, he was married to a girl named Joyce. So that
Yes.
was always that was his thing with me. I was married to a girl named Joyce, but he never made any kind of moves on me.
And never showed you.
I have to tell you, people didn't make, you always hear those stories about, and then they got me on the couch. That never happened to me. Well, it did happen to me once. Do you remember a character actor named Bill Conrad, William Conrad?
Of course,
Oh,
Cannon.
yes.
Sure.
Yeah, he just made phone calls to me late at night.
Oh, my.
With that deep voice of his,
But that was depressing.
With
That's the
Well,
one
but
guy.
at least he had that great radio voice.
that Rocky and Bullwinkle voice.
Yeah, he was Matt Dillon on the radio.
So he would call up with dirty phone calls?
He had a show called Cannon, I think it was
Cannon,
called
yeah,
Cannon.
he was a cop.
Just while I
Frank
was on
Cannon.
the show. I mean, he didn't stalk me or anything. But while I was on the show, I guess he had a couple of drinks, whatever, and then he called me. That's my only time that ever seemed to be a problem.
And now here's something whenever I ask actresses this, and I always scream bullshit. You worked with Elvis Presley.
Yes.
The trouble with girls.
Every single actress claims they didn't have sex with Elvis Presley.
I definitely did not have sex with him.
No.
All I can say about Elvis
Should have
Presley,
remembered that.
yes, I would have remembered that, is that I can only say what everybody says about him. He was very polite and nice. Also, I didn't really have anything to do with him. It was one of those, it was like a Chautauqua, which was, and I was playing Gertrude Ederle, the woman that swam
the swimmer.
English Channel.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have anything to do with him. So I have no reports on him at all, except that he was polite and nice.
That's
And,
nice.
yeah, I heard like Elvis used to call everybody sir or ma'am.
Yeah.
He was
Well,
a
he
good
was a
Southern boy.
Southern
Wink
boy. He was a
Martindale's
Sou-
wife dated him.
Oh, that's right.
We had her on the show.
That's right. And so you're still denying you've had sex with Elvis Presley.
I'm still denying it.
Let's pull another name off that list because you were just talking about how the writers loved Benny, but one of the guys the writers didn't always have a fondness for was Danny
It's Danny,
Kaye.
yeah. I'm glad you brought up Danny because the truth, when I think about my career coming into comedy, is Paul Mazursky.
Oh wow!
Because he was doing, there was no Danny Kaye show. I knew Paul from New York. He was an actor. I was out there. We were working. There was a place called the Crescendo on Hollywood Boulevard, and we was going to do a club act of improvisations. In other words, the first set would be stuff that you set, and then the second thing that you know what that is, and then the audience would give you ideas. So I went and I auditioned and I got it. So it was Paul Mazursky, me, Larry Tucker, who became Paul's, Alan Suze, and a girl named Liz Shaw, who was very beautiful, and I never really saw her after this. So we did that. I'm going to say we did it for about 3 months. I was working in a nightclub, which is interesting to do. And then that was the end of that. And then Paul and Larry got on the Danny Kaye show. And the Danny Kaye show was on for, this is a good actor's story. It was on for about a year. Getting to the end of the first year, he could not find a woman that he liked. They talked him into having me. I did like the last show of that season or whatever. He liked me. I was going to be on the Danny Kaye show. And then I spent 3 years on the Danny Kaye show. And that was really great. He was always he was nice to me. But he wasn't always nice to everybody. I know that.
We heard some bad stories from previous guests.
Yeah.
Men.
I think that he was nice to me.
In fact, in Tony Curtis's book,
what
he says he was at a party and Danny was being very rude to him and very insulting. And Tony said he looked at Danny in the eyes at one point and said, "Fuck you, Danny."
We had a couple of people here, Jamie Farr, Bernie Coppell, a couple of people that didn't enjoy their experience of working with him.
Had
but
some.
Oh no, he was difficult.
Yeah.
He didn't talk a lot to you. I remember once he had a dressing room that was like you could eat there. And one day he had Roddy McDowell, who was a guest on the show, and myself and Harvey, and some man who I don't remember
Harvey
that was
Korman.
from the TV guide. I don't remember who. And nobody talked. I remember the sweat was like dripping down my chest. You know that feeling when nobody knew what conversation to have. And if somebody, and Roddy, who was terrific, you'd start something and he just wouldn't pick it up. It was the most awful lunch I've ever had.
Roddy seemed like a nice guy.
Oh, he was adorable.
Another raconteur.
He was a raconteur, and he loved people, and he loved to entertain, and he was.
We hear lovely things about him. Harvey Korman, you and Harvey Korman were the repertory in that repertory company, and Howie Morris too.
No, the other one. Howie, I knew, of course, and he was on it. But
Conway, it was
Tim.
It was the first time that Korman and Conway.
Yeah, no, those were great years
paired
for
up.
me. I have to tell you, great years for me. I worked with Art Coney. There were just wonderful people on
Vincent
that show.
Price, Art Carney,
Vinny.
Satchmo, Don Knotts, Liberace,
It was
Gene
thrilling.
Kelly,
It was
George
thrilling.
Burns, Peter
It was.
Ustinov. What
That's
a
not bad.
Insane.
Yeah, that was good. That was a wonderful time for me. But here's the payoff. So then the show is over, and Paul and Larry write a movie called
I Love You, Alice B.
I Love
Toklas.
You, Alice B. Toklas. They're desperate.
I love
they write
you,
the
Alice
girl,
B. Toklas.
and so does Herbie Fine.
I love you,
Gertrude
Alice
Stein.
B. Toklas, and I want to change your name to mine.
No, also Herbie Fine.
Oh,
That was
Herbie
his
Fine.
name.
He's Herbie Fine in the movie.
No, so they wrote the character named Joyce, and they were desperately frightened for me to meet Peter Sellers because he was such a difficult man. And they got me so nervous. Be careful of what you wear. Don't wear purple. You can't wear purple. Be careful. Like, they had me so nervous. He was making another movie at Columbia, and I met them there. I went up to the dressing room. Of course, they waited downstairs for me. I went in. I talked to him for, I'm going to say 10 minutes. I don't remember it being particularly difficult. And I left. And then the boys went up. They said, wait here. I waited, and they came down, and they said, the job's yours. I never read with him.
Wow.
Nothing.
You're very funny in that movie.
Oh, thank you. He was, he was great to me. There was another person that was great.
I've heard with Peter Sellers, very much like Sid Caesar, that in character they were comfortable. But if they were out of character, it's like they didn't even exist.
That's interesting. I think that is probably true. He was much easier and more available than Danny. Danny, if you didn't want to talk about, he liked to talk about flying, airplanes, and he liked to talk about operations. He would go into operation rooms with doctors and watch them do appendectomies or whatever.
Danny Kaye.
Yeah.
Strange.
I mean, if you didn't talk about that, you sat at a table sweating.
He was a baseball fan. He was a big Brooklyn Dodgers guy.
yeah.
He wound up buying a baseball team.
Yeah,
later.
but that was a great 3 years for me. Really a great 3 years.
I saw a clip of you, Danny, Fred Gwynn in a Cyrano skit.
Yeah, Cyrano.
Yeah. Amazing.
And what was Harvey Korman like?
Perfect in every way. He had what Herb had. They're just gentle, sweet men.
Wow.
I loved him. Don't you think he was great?
Oh, yeah. Terrific.
Absolutely. We've had friends of his on the show who just
Everybody liked
adored
him, I
him.
think, don't you
Yeah.
think?
Well, Ronnie Shell told us he was paranoid.
Ronnie Shell.
Oh, yeah. But I
How is
remember
Ronnie Shell?
reading
We had him on twice.
How is
He's
he?
good. He's in L.A.
Still, do you go to L.A. or
No,
do they
we
come?
do it on. We have a hookup from L.A. here, and
Oh
we
my
just
God!
do it. On
I love American Style. I always had somebody like.
Oh
Ronnie
yeah,
Shell.
you did a Love American Style with Rich Little
and Mort Saul.
and Mort Saul. Wow.
This was so lucky. I really mean it. This was all just lucky.
Unbelievable.
Everybody.
Yeah,
people
really.
you worked with.
Paul
Yeah.
Mazursky, also Pat McCormick was a writer on that Danny Kaye show,
Oh, my God.
yes.
and Larry Gelbart.
Pat,
And yeah, I remember Dick Van Dyke said of Harvey Korman, he was the world's greatest second banana.
No argument.
Yeah.
I think he was flawless. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
He
agree.
could do anything.
Yep.
And
Go ahead, Gil.
You worked with Peter Falk on Columbo.
I did. I worked with Peter Falk on Mikey and Nicky too.
Oh.
Mikey and Nicky was a lost movie that was done by Elaine May. She wrote it and directed it, and it was John Cassavetes and Peter and other people, me, but other good people that I'm just not remembering right now. And
I've never seen it, but it has a reputation.
you know,
Has a
you
good
should
reputation.
try to see it.
I will. I like Elaine
because
May a lot.
they re-released. I see Elaine now. I still see her. They re-released it, and it got a lot of good reviews. She was laughing about it. I mean, it was suddenly getting good reviews
Yeah.
20 years
We
later.
love her work.
Yeah.
I've never caught up to it, but
It was interesting after
Got a
Mike,
following.
when Mike died. Did you see they were showing a lot of the Mike and Elaine's things? And you'd forgotten how great they were. They just were fabulous.
and Herb turns up in I Love You, Alice B. Toklas too.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, yeah. I just watched it. You're very funny in it. There's a lot of good comedy in that movie.
Yes.
I mean, the Mexican family and the neck braces. I mean,
It was good.
it's a very good script.
Yeah, it was a good script.
Harold? Do you know what happened this time?
What?
The earth moved for me. Like in Hemingway. Did the earth move for you?
No, I don't think so.
I didn't satisfy you.
Of course you satisfied me. It was just that the earth didn't move this time, that's all.
But it has moved in the past.
Oh, Joyce, many times, many times.
When?
Well, a couple of weeks ago it moved.
We must psychedelicize their impoverished dreams. Teach them how to live again. Make them stop playing the ego game. Teach them how to die so that they can be born again, so that they can become a flower again.
Harold? Is your asthma bothering you?
I have a little tickle right now, yeah.
It's a little Heartbreak Kid. In that
little
it's about
bit.
a guy who's a reluctant groom, and he meets a younger woman, and but good, but
You know,
succeeds on its own terms.
I worked with Tony too, Curtis.
Oh, yeah? Tell us about that.
That was sad. He was originally in I Would Have Been Pictures. He was the original man in it, and he was really, I think he was a very good actor. Do you agree with me?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Comic
he was a
actor,
very good
especially.
actor. And it was about a guy that had been a big writer in Hollywood and wasn't anymore. So that was great because, he carried that on stage with him. But they couldn't count on him. They literally couldn't. One night he would be great. The next night he would be terrible. The next, then he would be great. He never knew why it worked when it worked. So they fired him. And they replaced him with Ronnie Liebman.
What?
Ron Liebman replaced him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Always felt bad for him.
Yeah, he seemed like a troubled guy. He came from a really bad upbringing.
Yeah. But he had a long career.
Sure
Yeah.
did.
And he he got himself in trouble, I think, too.
Yeah.
And I don't think, doing 8 shows a week, you can't play around with stuff.
Oh, yeah. And then
You know what I mean? You
Of
can't
course,
do it.
of course.
You have
he had
to-
a drinking and drug problem.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. But I felt bad. It was just awful
Oh,
to work
absolutely,
with someone
'cause
that's
he
been
was a
fired.
really
He was such,
good
and he was a big star. He had been such a big star. But then Ronnie, of course, was great. So
We love Ron Liebman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They were
so
he's to be loved.
Underrated. And speaking of I Ought to Be in Pictures, now I'm reminded of who played the role in the movie. Someone else you worked with, Walter Matthau.
I'm so boring, but I loved him too. He couldn't have been sweeter.
You did Bad News Bears with Walter.
And his wife was in Mikey and Nicky, whoever he was.
Oh,
married to.
yes.
Carol.
Carol,
somebody.
hell.
Yeah,
I'll
she's
think
good.
of it.
She's good in it.
And
too.
and
Yeah.
what was Matthau like?
The best. Just loved him. And we shot. Did you ever see Bad News Bears?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
The greatest. I mean, it's just such a wonderful movie. But when you were making it, you hated it because it was hot and you were on that ball field all the time. There were all people coming. He would go up to all the people, all the fans. He'd talk to them. He gave his autograph. He was like, he just was adorable. And
You were
sweet
Cleveland.
and fun.
You
I
were
was
the equipment
Cleveland.
manager,
I was. And then Tatum O'Neal, who was a young and troubled 12-year-old, she wouldn't give anybody her autograph.
There's Walter Matthau
Because
giving it
Walter
out.
Matthau was
Right.
out there signing it. Yeah, that was sad.
And he was funny in person, too.
You got to work with 2 Felix Ungers and 2 Oscar Madisons because you
Tony.
worked with Art Carney in the K show. You worked with Matthau, and you were telling me on the phone that you knew Tony and Jack.
Tony and I did a tour. They used to do a thing through the Florida tour where you'd play Palm Springs and you'd play Fort Lauderdale and with a new play called The Button. And it was him and me and John McMartin, who was a wonderful
John McMartin, love him too.
wonderful actor,
Just passed recently.
Yeah, he did. So that was Tony. Tony, who had a great sense of humor and kept you laughing all the time. There's a certain kind of, once we realized the play was a bomb and we were in Florida, he would do anything to break you up on stage, so it got to be about that, who can break who up.
He tell you that he confide in you at some point and tell you that he had a difficult relationship with his dad, Tony Randall?
He had a mean father.
Yeah.
Yeah, how did you know that, though?
Oh, I go.
Did I tell you that?
No, I just go very deep into research, and I have a lot of help.
Yeah, it was surprised me when he told me that. Yeah,
And
he did.
what was wrong with him and his father?
His father was mean. I'm going to say his father was a rabbi. Is this possible?
I don't know. He's Lenny Rosenberg from Oklahoma. From
Yeah,
Tulsa.
I think there was a religious thing that was involved with it that really cut him down.
Interesting.
Really, really cut him down, and he did tell me that. And then later, he was married for many years to a lovely woman named Florence, and then she died.
Right.
They never had children.
Right.
And then he married again, and I think he had 2 kids.
Yeah, when
At a
he was
very
in his 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, he passed.
One of our favorites.
And what about Jack
You knew Jack
Klugman?
and Brett, too. Yeah.
I feel like I knew them all my life
That's
because
great.
they were here in New York,
Of course.
and they were in the Village. And is Jack's
No, we lost Jack.
Oh, no.
Did he go?
Yeah, about 5-6 years ago.
okay?
Yeah.
It's hard to keep track of it, I tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to tell our fans, I would be remiss if I didn't point out to our Odd Couple fans that you're in a memorable episode with George Firth.
With George Firth.
Another guy who was a good friend of yours. You know George Firth.
Oh, yes.
He's in Blazing Saddles and many other wonderful things.
Many wonderful things.
and
And he was
many
on The
talents.
Good Guys, I think,
Yes,
more than
he-
once.
yes,
yeah,
he
I think
was.
he was on it
And
quite a lot.
that other actor that they used a few times.
Richard Stahl.
Yes.
Yeah,
Another
he
funny
was
guy.
good.
Hysterical.
Another
Wasn't
funny
he good?
guy.
Yes. Like deadbeat.
Mm-hmm. So you were watching all these things when you were kids?
Oh, yeah. We're addicts.
Yeah, we're pathetic.
So is there anything happening now, television-wise, that you can't miss?
I wouldn't know.
I'm enjoying Fargo, but I think I'm like 2 years late.
No,
the
I've
series.
only seen the one. They do it really well. Didn't you
Gene
think?
Smart in the second season was a revelation.
I don't know that I saw.
Yeah.
Oh, gee, I hadn't heard
Oh,
her name
yeah.
in a long
I'll give you the discs.
time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really, that's the best thing I've seen in quite a while. But other than that, I'm like Gilbert. I'm a throwback. I'm lost in the 60s and the 70s. So I don't watch a lot of new television.
We're still catching up on And yet another show you were on. You can't name a show.
Oh, my God. Did you look at that IMDb page?
It's insane.
Every
Really?
show.
Isn't that
Yeah.
something?
Ben Casey, The Detectives, The Untouchables, Andy Griffith Show, The
Yeah.
Don Rickles Show. You did every
I liked
Western.
him, too.
Oh, tell us about Don Rick.
He was great. First of all, he was really smart. I mean, if he went after you, it was he got you, is what
Yes.
I'm trying to say. But no, I mean, he got you in a good way almost.
Oh, yeah, he would
He
insult
hated the way I
everybody.
dressed, which was good, because I didn't really, I didn't dress the way women should dress, according to him. But I thought he was wonderful, and he was good. I thought he was a good actor.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, you see him in, is he in Run Silent, Run Deep?
Yeah,
with
and
Gable?
he was in Run for Your Life with Ben Gazzara.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God,
Where he
that's
has
right.
a nervous
He's
breakdown.
in a couple of those beach blanket movies, too.
Yes.
Oh, and,
yes, he is.
and he's the
And the man with the X-ray eyes.
Yeah, the crooked carnivore.
With Ray Milland.
Yeah. Yeah,
We're
Rickles
freaks.
was-
We're freaks, Joyce. You
and
can,
I
you can
never
see
got
that.
a chance to meet Rickles.
You would have liked him.
Yeah.
I think you would have liked him. I did.
Tell us a little bit about when you were in that Elvis movie. John Carradine and Vincent Price were in that movie.
I didn't
interact with
but I
them.
knew Vincent.
You knew
I
Vincent.
knew Vincent. I think originally he was sweet. I'm a big bore. I really am. But like when we were doing the Danny Kaye show, it was right next to where the farmers market was. So he would go. We'd go for lunch, and then Talia, my daughter, was a little girl, and he bought like a little thing of honey, a little bear that was filled with honey for my daughter.
Yes.
I thought that was like sweet. And then I used to see him at, we had a mutual friend and we would have dinners together. He was another great raconteur.
Oh, yeah. All the people we missed out on this show, we kick ourselves.
Yeah, that's a shame because
Yeah.
he really had tales to
I
tell.
met him twice, very briefly.
Yeah.
And it just totally charming.
Yeah, totally charming. Lovely. Lovely.
We're not even going to get to, I'm not going to say it, Verderosa. I'm not going to say scratch the surface. But we'd have to do a 4-hour show with
I
you,
was
Joyce.
thinking that.
I was looking, I have to say, we've done 175 of these. And looking at your IMDb page, and I said to my wife last night, putting the research together, I said, I can't even get my arms around this. You've done
That's
so
amazing.
much.
Well, that makes me feel good because sometimes you wonder what you've done. So it is.
It's
you know
a
what I
body
mean?
of work,
Yeah,
Joyce.
that's really nice to hear, and it's charming to talk to both of you. It is, and it's always good to talk about myself.
Well,
Typical actor.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. Love to talk about me.
tell us about Lucy. You're in Mame with
I'm
Lucy
in
and
Maine
B.
with
Arthur.
Lucy. She was
for God's
nice
sake.
to
And
meet
Robert
you.
Preston.
Oh, God.
He was a prince. He was a prince.
I love this.
Yeah, there's got to be somebody I didn't like.
We'll find it. Maybe it's Gilbert.
Let's see. No, because I dislike people, but I can't think of any of the.
We'll find
She
us
was
some.
extremely nice to me. She talked all the time about Desi.
Wow.
Really?
Don't you find that interesting?
And this was 1974.
Oh, they were long. She's
they
married
were.
to
That's
the
what I
guy
mean. She's
that
married to Gary
Gar-
Morton at that
yeah.
point.
But then she turned on me, and I don't know what. Not during the movie, but then she invited me to several things, and I think she was really lonely in a way, and I think she really wanted a friend. And I was married; I didn't have the time to play whatever she was playing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but she didn't like me anymore. But
And-
I think she wanted a friend.
Yeah.
She thought I was good. She liked acting with me.
Yeah.
Desi would have been an amazing guest.
All of these people.
He invented
Television.
TV. Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
And I think with Lucy, she, they couldn't get along as a married couple, but,
But I think she was.
always
I think she was
greatly
crazy.
admired him.
I think she was crazy about him. I really do. That was.
Yeah,
I mean,
they say she
talked
never
about
got over it.
Well, why was she talking about him? All the time.
And when she was in another marriage.
Yeah, but that marriage made sense to me when I looked at it because he was like a very good valet or something. Do you know what I mean?
Gary Morton?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I mean that even in a nice way.
Mm-hmm.
He was there. It was like having a good assistant more than being in love. I have no right to say that. I never, I rarely saw them together, but that was the sense that I got.
And opposite Captain Nice, I think you appeared on Mr. Terrific.
You remember doing a show called Mr.
you know,
Terrific?
and whatever happened to that guy that did Mr. Terrific?
Stanley Strimple?
Tell me whatever.
Stephen
happened.
Strimple.
Stephen. How do you know that?
I don't know.
He was so excited
Disturbing.
about it. I must have done the second or the third of those, and he'd come from New York. He was a New York actor.
Yeah. Dick Gautier was in that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, who you worked with.
And I remember.
And John MacGyver.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Did
John
you know him?
MacGyver, one of my favorites.
Now, wait a minute. Who was John MacGyver?
Gilbert, give her a little.
John MacGyver would talk
Oh, he was great. Absolutely. No, he was great.
like you
John
flashed a picture.
MacGyver was a very good friend of Carol O'Connor's.
Wow.
Isn't that a good...
I love that.
He would always play like very pompous,
Oh, perfect. I know.
total buffoons, who are in charge.
Yeah, he
He'd
was
be
good.
like the hotel manager or something. Everything must be done according to schedule, sir.
That's perfect. You sound
he
just
good?
like him. You really do.
Isn't he a good mimic?
A very good mimic.
You should hear his Peter Lorre.
He was great. Peter Lorre
Did
was
you
great.
ever work with Peter Lorre?
No, I wish
No.
and I never met him. I think he's so great. Don't you just think he's great
Oh,
in movies?
terrific.
Oh, my God. So great.
One person you did work with was our friend Abe Vigoda on a show called The
Oh.
Comedy Company with Jack Albertson. Do you have any recollection of this? Okay, that was
Are you sure it's me?
It's you. This was going to be our question,
You
our
sure
girl
it's
to
not
guest
Dickie?
question
Dickie? It could have
for
been
Will
Dickie.
Harris. No, a gentleman named Will Harris. We do this thing called Grill the Guest where we
So
basically...
you don't remember Abe Vigoda?
I know who he was, of course, but
It was
I
Howard
don't-
Hesseman, Abe Vigoda,
Oh, Howard Hesseman I worked with.
Don Calfa, you, and Jack Albertson.
Comedy?
The Comedy Company. All right, we're going to get to the bottom of this.
Something about the comedy company is ringing a bell, but not working with those actors.
How about Lloyd Bridges? You did a ton of stuff with him. Any memories?
The Gladys? I never worked
You
with
did
her.
the Lloyd Bridges show? No? No memory
I have no memory
of these.
You never went scuba diving?
We're going to find someone you disliked,
I knew
by
the
way.
family. I knew the family. I knew the boys when they were young,
Mm-hmm.
Jeff and Bo.
Bo and Jeff.
Yeah.
In my notes, it said you did the Lloyd Bridges show and you did a pilot with him. But maybe that's not right. Here's somebody you definitely work with a lot, Andy Griffith.
A lot.
Yeah.
Tell us about Andy Griffith.
He was
Let me guess, he was a prince.
Tell
Well,
us.
I tell you what
Tell us he
happened.
was a mean drunk.
No, well,
He beat his kids.
he was he hated very much. We did Hawaii 5-0 together, and he hated Jack Lord so much.
Oh, really? Did he?
He could not stand him.
Oh, that's great.
Well, actually, a lot of people couldn't stand him.
I didn't
he
know
was
that.
a bit of a, I don't know. He was very full of himself.
You guys played grifters. You played a couple of confidence.
Yeah, actually,
confidence men
I
and a woman.
replaced Carol Burnett on it because she couldn't do it at the last minute. And they were afraid that Andy would not want to do it without Carol, but he did. And then we worked together a lot, but he did hate him. And if
That's good.
and he almost wanted Jack Lord to know that too. You know what I mean? He would walk away from him when he talked. It was really funny. But then we did a lot of stuff together. I worked with him a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, a movie called Winter Kill.
We did that.
And of course, the Andy Griffith show.
Then
you
the
were on.
Andy Griffith show.
Yeah.
Where that's when I got Alice Pitocos. I got the call. Oh yeah, I got the call on the phone that I was going to do Alice Pitocos, and it was the contracts were being signed and everything. And a woman that played Aunt B came to me, Frances Bavier, and she
Bavier.
said, "I'm very happy, but darling, remember this: it goes up, it comes down, it goes up, it comes down."
Wow.
Isn't that great?
You remembered that.
And,
Yeah.
And I heard Andy and Aunt B hated each other.
Oh, well, that I wouldn't know because I didn't. I didn't
Yeah.
spend that much time
But
on the
that,
show.
that is great.
Yeah.
That what she said, it goes
Wasn't
up
that
and goes
good?
down.
It goes
Yes.
up, it goes down.
Yeah. Here's some other names. We're just going to keep throwing these at you. You did a movie called Malice in Wonderland with
Yes.
Elizabeth Taylor.
And didn't get to meet her. It was
didn't get
so
to meet her.
heartbreaking for me because she was my idol. I loved her,
Oh, you didn't have any scenes together.
We had no scenes together. I'd worked with Jane the whole time. And so I didn't get to meet her. It was an interesting, it was about Hollywood. It was about
Yeah,
Hedda
she
Hopper.
played Hedda Hopper.
And, yeah, Hedda
and Luella
Hopper
Parsons.
and Luella Parsons. Right.
Yeah. What about the Mary Tyler Moore Hour, which you did?
Yeah, we did 17 of those. And David Letterman played my boyfriend. And
Michael Keaton was
Michael
on that
Keaton
show.
was on
Wow.
it. And
Ron Rifkin.
and Ronnie. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was not. It was after she had done the Great Show,
Yes.
and this was going to be part a variety and part a regular. In other words, she was an actress who had a show,
Right.
and I was her secretary, and Michael Keaton was the guy that worked at the studio. One of those guys that has a uniform, and she had a press agent. It was that. Dodie Goodman. Do you remember Dodie Goodman?
Dodie Goodman.
Oh,
we
yes.
loved her from Mary Hartman.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what do you remember about doing Twilight Zone?
It was first of all, it was thrilling to do Twilight Zone #1. #2, we shot the sets were the old sets from Marie Antoinette. It was at MGM, so it was all that stuff, and it was Gladys Cooper,
Oh, yeah.
Wilfred Hyde White, Cyril Delamonte, Cecil Kellaway,
Alan Napier.
Alan Napier. I couldn't believe that I was, and they all. Gladys Cooper and Wilfred Hyde White wanted to talk all day long about everything. They loved to gossip about Rex and Kay. And this
Rex and Kay.
I mean, it was like
That would be Rex Harrison.
I couldn't believe it. It was so great to do.
You're a kid from Queens.
Exactly.
And suddenly you're
I'm
on the
with those
soundstage
people.
in Hollywood with these veteran,
And my friend Lee Phillips played my husband,
Lee
so that
Phillips.
was nice. So I had Lee as a friend there. So I remember only wonderful things.
And did you-
And Rod Serling came around,
Oh, that's
He
what I
did.
was going to ask.
Yeah, he came around. I forget whether it was a meal that we all had or something. That was a class act, and it still is. You can make money if you sign.
And Rod
pictures.
Serling was nice?
Yeah, he was. He smoked a lot,
Oh, that's...
but people did then, didn't
Yeah.
they?
That's
They
the voyage, the Passage on the Lady Anne. That
Yeah.
episode is one of the hour-long episodes.
Yes,
Oh,
an
yes.
hour long.
Yeah, it's very spooky. It's you and Lee, and you get on, I guess, what is essentially a ghost ship.
It's yes, and we're ready to have a divorce, but we're trying to stay together, and then through this we get back together.
It's sad. It's an interesting Twilight Zone episode because it's romantic
Yeah.
and it's sad as opposed to scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the actors are charming as hell.
God, yes. God.
Oh, excuse me. What about this one? The Lady Anne.
Oh, I don't think so.
Why not?
Well, for one thing, it's very nearly the oldest boat in the water, and it's certainly the slowest. 13 days to La Havre, another half day to Southampton, if there are favorable winds.
Well, forget it.
No, wait a minute. It leaves on Thursday. That's less than a week.
Please, Mrs. Ransom, forget it. Take your husband's advice. The Lady Anne is an antique, a relic.
Look, we can relax when we get there if that's what you want. Don't make such a big deal out of it.
Well, it is a big deal to me. A very big deal. Give us 2 tickets.
For this.
Yeah, that's right. The Lady Anne.
And before I forget, Mr. Terrific didn't have words to the theme song.
You're going to sing
But it was-
Joyce the theme song?
Can you do We're the Good Guys? We're the good guys. We never let a friend down. We're the good guys. Da, 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 da.
I've forgotten it. It's been a long time.
It's been a long
since I
time.
saw
Me
The Good
too.
Guys. Even longer since I've seen Mr. Terrific. Oh, tell us about Rock Hudson. You did the Martian Chronicles?
Well, yeah, but I didn't really get to know Rock Hudson. I worked with Darren McGavin.
Oh.
You know, they were Ray Bradbury short things
Yeah.
from Fahrenheit 4.
Sure.
So it was Darren and I. But we were in Malta, and so I did see him at the hotel and everything, and he was very good looking and very nice, but I didn't really spend time
Well,
with
then
him.
tell us about Darren McGavin, who we love.
He was great.
Was he nice to you?
Oh, shit, yeah. He was.
We
He
hope
was
you're going to say that
nice.
about us when this is over.
Well, I
Joyce.
will. I have
Well,
nothing.
that'll be pushing it.
What was working with Gilbert Gottfried like?
Yes, he was a prick. Oh, and you worked with yet another favorite over here, Jack Gilford.
Oh. Here I go again.
The best, right? We hear nothing but nice things.
Little sweetheart. He was a sweetheart.
Yeah.
And was so good. Wasn't he so good?
Oh, we loved him.
Everything.
We did the play together. We did supporting cast. That was written by George Firth, actually.
Tell us a little bit about George. You were starting to tell us before.
George, well, he just was wacky. You had to be careful around George. You know what I mean? There are people that you have to just watch your step. But he was wonderfully bright and interesting, but he could start trouble.
Really? Interesting.
Wow.
We love him. What about you did a Western with Dino and Brian Keith
Yes.
called Something
Oh,
Big.
and here's a nice story about an actor, Dean Martin.
Oh, there you go.
So there I was. We were in Mexico, and I'm on a hill, badly dressed, with this other actress, Judy Meredith. And down the hill is Dean Martin and I guess Brian Keith.
And Denver Pyle was in it.
And who's also a wonderful actor. And Dean Martin starts walking up the hill toward me. We're just about to start shooting. And he says, wait a minute. He says to me, I just saw you in Alice B. Toklas, and such a wonderful performance. Wasn't that a nice thing
How
to
nice.
do? And then he went back down the hill. And I thought that was so nice to do before your first shot in a movie, to make somebody feel good. like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So
How
that's
nice.
a good Dean Martin.
Now that,
But you never heard a bad thing about him either, did you, Dean Martin? People always-
No, actually.
No.
Well, I heard he and Frank Sinatra beat up the chairman of Hunt's Food.
I don't think it was Dino. I think it was Frank, as the story goes.
But
Why would they do that?
they were both, in the bottle, and they owned Vegas, and he asked them if they could hold it down a little, and they didn't like that. And I heard they beat up the chairman of Hunt's Foods, and he crashed through a glass table and was in a coma for a while. He almost died. And never, even scarier, he never pressed charges.
Scared to death.
Yeah,
He was scared to death.
yeah.
Those were the days when they didn't get that in the paper.
Oh, yeah. Now you could do something alone in your room, and everybody knows it.
They protected those people.
But yeah,
Incredible.
back then they were having affairs. They were having people killed. It was like, okay.
I'm so knocked out by your long list of credits here, Joyce. I'm just going to throw some more names at you. You did Murder at the Howard Johnsons with our pal Tony Roberts.
Yeah. And the great Bob Dishy.
Bob Dishy, another funny guy.
Yes.
Does he live in New York? We got to get Bob Dishy on this show.
He's here.
He's hilarious.
I was with him not that long ago doing a play reading.
Wonder if he'd do this with us.
I
Gil.
bet he would love to do it.
I love Bob Dishy.
Yeah.
I think he's a comic genius.
We do
actually.
too.
I think he's a genius. And that play, if that play, that's Ron Clark and Sam
Bobrick.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
guys. Also writers on the K Show. If that had had a good producer, that play could have run it, because it was three characters. It was an audience pleaser, and Bob Dishy gave an incredible performance.
Yeah.
And so did Tony, but Bob had the showier part.
Funny guys.
And I guess it's your nephew, Vincent Van Patten.
Is Dickie's youngest son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was both a championship tennis player and an actor.
Yes. I actually watched him play at Wimbledon one year, but he does this poker thing. Do you know what he does?
No.
They do poker on television, and he's, what do you call the the people that talk about it?
He's a color commentator?
Color commentator.
Oh, that's interesting.
And he goes all over the world. He goes to Monaco and wherever, and they do that.
Shared his dad's love of poker.
Yeah.
I remember him on Apple's Way with Ronnie Cox.
Yeah, right.
Remember that show?
Oh, yeah.
He was the son.
And
he was a bit of a teen heartthrob
Yes, he was. He was
Oh,
on all
my
those
God,
Tiger
yeah.
Beat
He
things.
sure as hell was.
Tiger Beat.
yeah, really handsome guy.
Yeah.
How about Carl Malden?
He's another nice guy.
Well, what the hell are you doing on this show?
We're going to find a bastard. I'm going to keep throwing through my
I
notes.
must have hated somebody. Surely there's somebody I can't stand.
And you were in that movie, a very odd film, Falcon and the Snowman.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was Sean Penn and Tim Hutton.
That's
Yes.
right.
And we shot that in Mexico City.
John Schlesinger.
Oh, and I think Pat Hingle.
And Pat Hingle.
Pat Hingle,
It's
another
funny
good
that you
actor.
mentioned him. I just saw a little bit. Murder, She Wrote was on the other night, and he was on it. He was a nice guy. He
Oh,
was
yeah.
very not like an actor in any way. He was like a small town guy in a way. Sweet man.
He was always good at those parts.
Yeah, he was. I think he played my husband in that. That was a true story, the Falcon. and the
Yes,
Snowman.
yes, about these two kids who were taking government secrets.
Yes,
and bringing
yeah,
them to
and bringing
the
them to the
Russians.
Russians. Yeah,
Well, you knew Sean Penn's dad, didn't you?
Leo.
Leo, yeah.
We did one of those. Remember the Amazing Stories?
Of
was
course.
it called?
We just
did-
had one of the writers in
Leo
here the
and
other
I
night.
did that.
Yeah. Yeah, Steven Spielberg's Amazing Stories. And you worked with Blake Edwards on Blind Date.
Yes, I did. But I didn't have much to do in that.
And Pat Hingle had a pinky missing.
He did?
Yes.
He fell down an elevator shaft.
Wow.
That was it? That's how he... Oh. I thought that would have been a great story.
No, it's true.
It's true.
He did?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
fell, but I don't remember the specifics of it. Do you remember?
I don't have that in here.
So he fell
I know
down
he-
an elevator
It was a bad
shaft.
accident, and it was in the papers.
Yeah.
It was some kind of accident where he did something to his.
Yeah, I know he lost a pinky. And it's
He
in
could have-
films you
He
could
could have
see.
lost more than a pinky.
Oh, my God, yes.
But it was some elevator thing that happened. On
But yeah, he was a terrific character
yeah,
actor.
wonderful.
It's amazing. I honestly, I James Whitmore,
Jimmy Whitmore, yeah.
another nice
What
fella.
did I do with him?
Says here a show called The Loner, created by Rod Serling, with James Whitmore.
Huh. Well,
You don't
know, the
remember some of these.
You know, the truth is about a lot of these things when you do the television thing, you don't get to be with each other that much. I think when you're in a play with people
Mm-hmm.
and you see them 8 times a week and you have that long, that's when you can really begin to hate people. But when you're just,
Or when you do a podcast with them.
Yes.
But it's true. I mean, that's when you get your little,
Yeah,
they
just
get under your skin. They get under
Every
your skin.
tiny thing about their personality gets on your nerve.
You were also married to Dennis Dugan, who
I
you
was.
and Gilbert have somebody in common.
Oh,
Yes.
my, you were married to Dennis Dugan?
He
Yes,
was.
I was.
Yeah, he directed Problem Child.
That's right. That's
Starring
right.
Gilbert Gottfried.
Yes.
But I was married to him not then. We were divorced then, or you would have known that.
Yes.
But I have worked with him since.
And what was the show he starred in?
Well, he did Richie Brockelman,
Richie
Private Eye.
Brockelman.
Yeah, Ricky.
But wasn't that a Rockford spinoff?
Yes. No, I don't think so.
It was a spinoff of something.
I was married to him then.
Richie Brockelman.
That was
he
good.
I mean,
But
I remember.
Who was the man in it? There was an older star
Oh
in it.
God!
How could
Is
I-
Paul out there? Hey, Paul, let us know the older star from Richie
Oh, he'll-
Brockelman, Private Eye.
He'll have an answer in 10 years from now. Yes.
That's our researcher, Joyce. He was fun on that show. It didn't last long.
No, but he was very good on that.
Oh, yeah, he was my director, Dennis Dugan. Wow.
Yeah. Yes.
And recently directed you in Grown Ups,
Yeah, the first grown-up.
the first Grown Ups. Paul, what do you got on Richie Brockelman, Private Eye?
Nothing.
Hi, Joyce. Nice to meet you. Can
Hi.
I share your mic?
Sure. Yes,
That's
please.
Paul.
Yeah.
Be my guest.
Just pull it
what
over.
are we-
Pull
what
it
are
to
we
your-
looking
Pull
for?
it to yourself. Pull it to yourself for a
Pull it
minute.
to me. All right.
Yeah.
So what are we looking? I got
Richie
the cast up here.
Brockelman,
What are we
Private Eye.
looking for?
What are we looking
Yes.
for? Yeah, I have answers.
See,
but
this
what's the question?
tells us
Yeah,
he doesn't even know the question.
So Dennis Dugan is Richie Brockelman, Robert Hogan, Barbara Bosson, Norman Fell.
Norman Fell.
Oh, the
Is that
great
Norman
what you're
Fell?
looking for?
No.
Norman Fell in the pilot.
I
as
thought
Mr. Brockelman.
Wasn't there another man that was the star?
Well, he was Richie
John
Brockelman.
Randolph as Mr. Brockelman.
love
in
John
a
Randolph.
series.
No. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was just him, but I feel like he had a Jim Garner with him or somebody like that, but it wouldn't have been Jim.
I think it was. Does it say that it was a Rockford Files spinoff, Paul?
Let me see. What does it say here?
Is this picking him up, Frank?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm at a really awkward position, if that helps.
Just make sure we push it.
Now, did you ever work with Norman Fell?
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. I don't see any more in Brooklyn.
All right, give her the mic back.
Yeah.
Give me my mic.
Thanks for the loan.
I not only worked with him, knew him, knew him from New York, like I knew Brett and Jack. They were all from the same period of time.
Yeah, I met him once briefly.
He was cute. Fun.
Very, very nice man.
Fun.
And he was one of those who was equally good in drama and comedy.
Yes, I agree. I think he was too.
Yeah. How about Fritz Weaver?
Yeah, he just,
We just lost him.
Yeah. Fritz and I did a thing with Fritz where we all three women tried to kill him. It was like one of those things. They tried to do something from 11 to 12:30 at night on NBC, I think it was. So it was like three of his ex-wives tried to kill him.
And weren't you in a play with him too?
Oh yeah, we were in. I can't think of the name of it right now. Was it the Belasco?
Yeah.
I'll think of it.
Good actor.
I'll give you. Oh, and another great guy.
Another adorable guy.
and his wife is a very good friend of mine. His wife, and who is his widow now, is a very good friend of mine.
What were you going to say about Robert Preston before when we brought up names?
He was great too. He was.
You've been lucky.
I've been lucky. I have been lucky.
Yeah. We're going to make you get some of these people for us.
I thought, actually, in the long run, when I was sort of angry that I had been a child actor for a while, and then I thought, really, if you think about it, it's not a bad environment to be brought up in. It's democratic, pretty much. Mm-hmm. So from the time that I was a kid, really, I was working with African American people. I was working with Asian people. I was, so that was good. And you got, because I didn't have like a great education. I really didn't finish high school. But you pick up like intelligence from plays. Don't you think that's true?
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like in the end that you could do a worse thing in your life.
I'm sure.
And I think Danny Bonaducci said, because they say it's so terrible, child actors. And he said, being a child actor is great. Being a former child actor is what sucks.
I actually worked with him. What did I do with him?
Danny Bonaducci?
Yeah.
I got to go.
When he was a kid.
His father was a writer, Joe Bonaducci. His father was a TV writer.
He may have done a Good Guys or something.
Okay.
As a kid.
We'll go digging.
Kid.
Is it true you never worked another job outside of acting?
Never had another job.
Isn't that fascinating?
Well, you started when you were a baby.
Yeah, but most of the kids don't go on acting. I mean, it's and you wonder whether it's that they're not that interested, which is what I always hope.
Yeah.
That it isn't that they want to, but they can't, I don't know. But most of the kids that we grew up with did not stay in the business.
Also, what I find very weird and depressing is, like on the internet and magazines, they'll say, here's the child actor back then, adorable, and here he is now. And you go, well, he grew older like all of us grow older.
Yeah, but
he's not a freak.
No.
He'd be a freak if he looked 5 years old.
How about Bob Newhart? Since I'm throwing names at you, another gentleman.
Well, that's true.
Yes.
I mean, you never heard a bad thing about Bob Newhart.
Oh, we wouldn't necessarily want you to say anything bad about him. Maybe just an anecdote.
No.
Yeah.
I wish I did. But I worked with him a few times. I had a very good, Marsha Wallace was a good friend of mine, and she was in
What a talented lady.
Yeah. I miss her still. Well, she was in L.A. and I was in New York, but we used to talk an awful lot on the phone. And
how about Alan Alda? You did a play with him.
Yeah.
The best guy, right?
He's great. He is great. And we were in a play together for a long, long time.
Jake's Women,
yeah,
right?
And then we even did it on television. So
and you didn't even hate him in the play?
I didn't hate him.
There's not a guy you can ever hear a negative word about.
No, he's another one that you can't hear.
Yeah.
So there were all these nice people.
Well, you've had a charmed career, and everybody's been so sweet to you and so kind to you. Except for William
Rob
Conrad
Schneider.
calling you at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Except dirty phone calls from William Conrad.
And yes, and yet it can be an abusive business, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You can get your feelings hurt, I think, a lot.
I'm sure.
And-
Not necessarily with the people you work with, but, people can make you feel like not so good.
And it is with child stars, if their voice changes slightly or they get a pimple, people go, oh, God, they're not cute
They're not
anymore.
cute anymore.
Get rid of them.
It's horrible. That's true. That's
And
true.
then a lot of child stars, it's like they don't know how to live in the real world after that. They just know being on a soundstage.
Yeah, and that can be very unreal, being on a sound. I mean, the real world is not
totally.
on being on not being on a sound.
And so some of them, they don't know. They don't know how to make a dentist appointment or anything.
that's
like
very
that.
true. That's very true. No, it can be bad. And then they can lose their money. They can work very hard and not end up with any
Jackie
money.
Coogan.
That's stuff like that.
That's
isn't good.
the ultimate story.
And you can't get too. You have to get out of that. I think it's harder in Hollywood, honestly. I think that's really a company town. I think you have a better chance of staying really in the real world if you're in a city or, a lot of those stars now, they don't live in Hollywood anymore.
No.
They live in, Wyoming.
Sure.
Where, I get it. I really do
Or if you're
get
George in Italy.
it. If you're George, you're in Italy. But,
Right.
I get that, don't you?
And-
Sure.
And getting back to Problem Child, we had on the Problem Child himself.
We had him here, yeah.
Michael Oliver, who was the kid. And for a while, it looked like his whole life was going down the drain. And now he works with computers. He's very happy, very
good.
content.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. That's
He
good.
supports himself. He accepts his former childhood stardom, but now he's got another life that he totally.
Well, that's
accepts.
great. I mean, that's
Yeah.
great that you can do that because I think some people can't.
You worked many times with an actor we had in here who was a child star. He was a teen star, but Matthew Broderick.
Oh, yeah. No, he's my friend. I love Matthew. I was with him, when he became a star. And that was really interesting. That was Brighton Beach Memoirs.
Yeah.
And he turned 21. And, it all happened. We did the show first in Los Angeles and then in San Francisco, and then we opened on Broadway. And, I mean, it was gigantic. He became a huge star suddenly on Broadway overnight. And his father had just died.
James Broderick,
For just about, I don't know, 9 months before, 8 months before. And it was really something to see him try to handle himself through it. And he, I think, is a real person. I mean, he never drank the Kool-Aid.
New York.
Yeah.
Growing up here instead
think
of
so.
instead
And,
of growing up
just
in the
very-
system, growing up in the theater world.
Very unassuming.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally real. Never changed.
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so funny because he thought it was all over when that movie fell apart. He was supposed to make that movie
Which movie?
with Martin Ritt, No Small Affair, and Sally Field. He came in and told us that.
Oh, right.
And the movie fell apart, and he thought, "That's it, I'm done."
Yes.
And then he had a cold streak where he couldn't get any parts, and then, boom,
And he's so good. I think he's so talented.
so good in everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's, darling. Talia, my daughter, is on a show with Sarah.
Oh, she's on Divorce.
They're on Divorce.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, have you ever worked with Talia?
Yes, we were in Jake's Women together, actually.
Oh.
Jake's Women is another Neil play
Yeah.
that we didn't work together.
Yeah.
Alan Alda was in it, and Talia, and she's a great girl.
Yeah.
Joyce, you've had an incredible career.
I have.
An incredible run.
I didn't realize what a great career I tell you. I spent the afternoon or evening, I should say, with you two guys.
You're so sweet.
I am
started out.
definitely going to feel very good tomorrow. Sleep well tonight.
We'll come back and we'll do it again, and we'll go through the other half of your credits.
Okay, anytime.
I tell you.
Yeah, I'll figure out who did Richie Brockelman with Dennis. I'm going to figure that one out.
Our listeners are screaming it into their
And
their.
I guess there's no way to avoid the line we haven't scratched the surface.
No, I mean, she's like McCloud and Mannix and Hawaii Five-0 and Cannon and every sitcom.
That Dennis was good. What
Dennis
was Dennis
Weaver.
Weaver? Yeah, he was funny.
You did everything.
I did everything. What more? Now I'm going to go home.
Well, you have anything you want to plug before you go?
I have nothing to plug, but I have a dog. And I know that right now that dog is going, where the hell is she?
Tell us about the dog.
She said it was just going to be a couple of hours, and now what's going on? Where is she? But I totally enjoyed this, really. And it made me
it's
feel
been
good.
a thrill
And
for
thank you.
us.
Thank you. This has been Gilbert Gottfried's amazing Colossal podcast with my co-host Frank Santopadre, and we've had on Joyce Van Patten. Thank you, Joyce.
You have to be crazy not to.
Thank you. And thanks to Richard Kind.
Red velvet trees and lions, grinning lions, candy witches, eating lychee leaves, spinning.